recently I completed watching the entire set of seasons of Boardwalk Empire. And I watched this show primarily because of my co-host, of Attic Aficionados, Brandon DiCamillo's, not necessarily explicit recommendation, but at least mentioning that this was a show that I probably should watch. And I have very mixed feelings associated with Boardwalk Empire. It strikes me as there were a number of elements that showed the potential for vinyl. Vinyl was a one-season show on HBO that I endured through, and I didn't realize until I watched Boardwalk Empire that this was a continuation from The Sopranos. There was a lot of strange Sopranos catharsis in Boardwalk Empire, which I found rather curious. Boardwalk Empire is genuinely more bloody than The Sopranos, I think. I kind of got that sense. There's a lot more blood, basically. There's a lot more shooting, stabbing, slitting of throats. There's a whole season where the slitting of throats seems to be almost, I don't know, like another character. Like the person with the slit throat just as another character in the show. And I think in terms of plot, there were many elements to Boardwalk Empire that just left me wondering, would this be a show that I would watch again? I think I'm probably going to wait for at least a couple of years, and then I think I'm probably going to watch only a couple of seasons. I think really only the first, and to a vastly lesser extent, the final season. Even the final season was a bit problematic. I don't know what my favourite seasons would be. Probably the first, Boardwalk Empire. I don't know. The second? Maybe not. The first and, I think probably mainly the last. The last by a distant amount. Really, the first season was the best season. And it's an interesting trajectory. The subject matter, it's based in the 1920s up to the early 1930s. It's based on a real person who has been manipulated in a really curious way. And there are half a dozen actual characters. Meyer Lansky, Al Capone, whatever the head of the mafia was called. I mean, what is his name? I don't know. Anyway, bunch of people based on real characters. And then the main one who is based on a fellow called Nucky Johnson, who actually lived out his years and spent a bit of time in jail and was a bit of a character, but nothing really like the Nucky Thompson, who is portrayed in a somewhat whimsical way by an actor whose name escapes me when I choose to record, and yet I remembered his name through the entirety of this show. I don't know what happened. Buscemi, Steve Buscemi, there we go. Boardwalk Empire, I'm glad I watched it. I might watch it again in a couple of years. It's no Sopranos for me in terms of rewatching it, but it exists. It's a thing. I've done it. I was a bit disappointed when it ended. It really was maybe 3-4 weeks of my life. Now it's over. I've got to find something else I can watch on television. Buying things on iTunes periodically and not really finding anything that I enjoy. Always difficult.